Let's talk about the quarterbacks, though, right? We're going to go through some props for quarterbacks in the divisional round, starting with which quarterback you think will go over on their passing yards prop. You got Patrick Mahomes at 247, CJ Stroud 227. Who has the highest, that would be Jared Goff, who's at 269.5. Who has the lowest, it is Jalen Hurts at 205.5. Sia, where are you taking us?
So these lines, I think, are very efficient, but I will say this. I think there's a couple where we can look to the over, not just at passing yards, but also passing completions. And I'll say both for Patrick Mahomes. I think this is a situation where I think Kansas City's going to roll in this game. And I know some of the sharps are on Houston here, but I respect this front seven, especially as it relates to the running game, which has been largely ineffective for Kansas City. And although they might be one-dimensional against Houston, I think with all of this prep, they are going to be able to chuck it around the yard to guys like Travis Kelce, Xavier Worthy, who has really kind of stepped up his game. And credit to the coaches, because they've given him kind of a lower ADOT. They've given him some situational stuff where he's really taken advantage. Marquise Brown is back. Kansas City's going to have to throw. Mahomes is not afraid to throw. I think he's going to have a lot of completions and a lot of yards. Kansas City rolls. I'm
with you on this one. I'm saying Patrick Mahomes as well. I think I talked about it last week. 2023, what Patrick Mahomes did in the postseason was like outworldly. The Chiefs are healthy, which they kind of struggled for a lot of the season. Pacheco is back. Like you said, Hollywood Brown is back. Adding DeAndre Hopkins, I feel like has really helped out Xavier Worthy and letting him get open and be better that way. And then Kelce and Mahomes in the playoffs, they just turn into absolutely different athletes, different animals. I can't bet against them. So I'm going Mahomes on this one too. But Larry, you found some value elsewhere.
Yeah, we'll see if Dan Quinn wants to stay to his form, which is playing a lot of man coverage, number 6 in man coverage, and that is a recipe for absolute disaster against Jared Goff. He's number 1 in EPA against man coverage, number 1 in completion percentage, number 2 in yards per attempt. Basically, if you put him in man coverage, half of his passes are going for first downs. That's how effective he's been. And then Marshawn Lattimore was not really ready to go, it didn't look to me. 7 catches on 7 targets for 92 yards. You know, maybe he was working the rust off, but now you're going against a Lions team that is absolutely loaded with a lot more weapons than the Bucs threw at them. I'll go over on Jared Goff.
Well, that makes sense. Jared Goff is having such a great season as well. I really love this for the Lions. Now for one of my favorite, and you guys know me well enough, one of my favorite quarterback props is the interception prop. When I was looking at these odds this morning, probably the steepest odds would be CJ Stroud. He's at minus 165. He's got 12 interceptions on the season, 4 interceptions over the last 4 games, including 1 in the wild card round versus the Chargers. And who has the, I guess, plus money odds? Most would be Jalen Hurts at plus 130. Has not thrown an interception since November 10th versus the Cowboys. Larry, who do you like to throw a cookie?
I like Patrick Mahomes, a little bit rusty, has not played since December 25th. I know they went 7 straight games without a turnover, a little bit of luck involved. You're playing an elite Houston secondary. I think the Chiefs are going to advance, but this is a secondary that had 19 picks in the regular season, 4 more in the playoff game with Stingley and Lassiter and Bullock. They have 3 guys with 16 picks combined right there, and they have the guys up front to pressure Patrick Mahomes, who did throw 11 interceptions, most of them in the first half of the season. Did not get picked off, I should note, in that game against Houston a few weeks ago. But to me, the price point at minus 120, and I'm hoping for a little bit of rust.
I like that minus 120. Also, C and I like him to go over on his pass yards. So we do know that he's going to be throwing a lot, which leaves him susceptible to interceptions. Sia, who do you like for a cookie?
Yeah, for the record, I don't mind that play on Mahomes. And honestly, if he throws that interception and gives Houston a short field, then all the better for his passing yards. Because I do respect this Houston defense. What I don't respect is the Houston running game. I talked about how Kansas City is going to be one-dimensional. Well, CJ Stroud and company, they're going to be one-dimensional as well. And here's the problem. When you're one-dimensional and you just have Nico Collins, it's a lot different than when you have Patrick Mahomes with his receivers and his system behind Andy Reid. So this is a situation where I think CJ Stroud, who, by the way, I mean, it's kind of weird for me to couch it like this, but for a quarter and a half was getting absolutely dominated by the Chargers and looked terrible. And it took a 3rd and 18 botch snap for somehow the momentum to completely turn. Well, that momentum's not going to turn in Kansas City against the Kansas City Chiefs. So give me CJ Stroud to throw, like you say, Katie Mox, a cookie.
Yes, I love it. I actually got that from Danny Brasco. I know it's obviously what we use in like basketball and other terms like that for turnovers. But I'm going to go, you know, when I was looking at all of these, I didn't love any of them, but so I went with the best value here. So I took Jalen Hurts at plus 130. You know, coming out of concussion protocol, he just didn't really look right. You know what I mean? He definitely took some time to get his rhythm back. Only 131 yards, 13 for 21, his completion rate. And when I look at who he's up against, the Rams defense played out of their mind on Monday night. They sacked Darnold 9 times. Now, of course, he was holding on to the ball too long for a lot of that, but that's a concern when you think of someone like Jalen Hurts, who has a tendency to hold on to the ball a little bit longer. Now, I do think that this goes through Saquon, but at plus 130, when you look at what the Rams just did and how Jalen Hurts is not 100% yet, I like it. So that's what I took there. Let's go for a quarterback most likely to hit the over on their longest completion number. Larry, what do you think?
Jared Goff over 36.5. They're number 3 in explosive passes, and the Commanders are bottom 8 in defending that. You have Jameson Williams. You have a lot of big play threats on that offense. It's just a great matchup overall for Jared Goff, including longest completion.
All right, I feel like we're all agreeing on this one, but anything to add here, Sia?
Well, I hate to say it, but against my Commanders, I do think Jared Goff's going to have a field day. What's so interesting about this game is that Detroit should be able to establish whatever they want through the running game and through the passing game. I completely agree with Larry, especially on the front end with the passing yards. And here's the thing. Amon-Ra St. Brown, he doesn't really run the deepest routes, but you got Jameson Williams, deep routes plus the short routes after the catch. And even guys like Tim Patrick and Khalif Raymond are eligible to break this defense. You have to commit. If you're Washington, you have to commit to something. It's probably just stopping Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery and allowing a lot of stuff underneath. There are going to be some cracks, and the dam's going to break, and we're going to have maybe a couple long passes from Jared Goff.
Yeah, I'm with you guys on this one. I think it's Jared Goff. His longest pass of his NFL career happened this year. It was to JMO, like you just said, against the Bears, December 22nd, 82 yards and a touchdown. Anytime we all agree, I like to hit you with a trivia question here. So which quarterback has the longest pass in a single game in the NFL postseason history? Is it A, Peyton Manning, B, Trent Dilfer, or C, Troy Aikman? Sia.
So I'm going to go with the psychology of these 3 answers, and it's got to be Trent Dilfer because he doesn't belong on this list.
Okay, Larry.
Yeah, it's got to be Dilfer.
It is Dilfer. You guys, oh man, I thought I was going to stump you guys on this one. 96 yards to Shannon Sharp, actually, versus the Raiders in 2001. Peyton Manning's at number 7 with 87. Troy Aikman, number 2 with 94 yards versus Green Bay in 1995. All right, we got to go quickly for this one, but the most passing yards in the playoffs. Sia, who do you think?
Well, I do expect the Detroit Lions to make the Super Bowl, so I'm going to go with Jared Goff at plus 500. He's going to have a field day against Washington, but also in the next round, I think he'll be okay. And if they face the Eagles aren't exactly a passing offense. Give me Jared Goff. Even if he in the Super Bowl, he doesn't have to put up a huge number necessarily because of all the damage he's going to do in this particular round.
Oh, all right, what do you think, Larry?
Just a little value at plus 1,000 on Jalen Hurts. He got a 131-yard head start. I know it's not much, but I do like the Eagles to get all the way to the Super Bowl. And I think in the second game back against the Rams and then in that potential shootout against the Lions, he's going to put up big numbers.
Okay, I am going to go with Patrick Mahomes here because I'm taking him for everything. He's hurt my feelings so much. I feel like he comes into a different person in the postseason. He's going to have the most yards. He's going to have the most touchdowns. So give me all of the Patrick Mahomes.